Let's talk herd.
Let me ask you something. Do you think it's because they have connection with the oversoul of all horses, which is where all
Absolutely.
of them
I think that big herd I saw was just like...
That's the oversoul. That's what I get.
Yeah.
And animals have much easier access to that, especially horses and whales and elephants, which, you know, they do so much energetic work. And we, as humans, like, what's the oversoul of humanity? I guess we say our higher self or something, or I am... you know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you know what that reminds me of?
The wisdom is because we get stuck here.
Yeah. When you were talking about, or when you are talking about this, my sister, after her accident, she had this, I mean, I call it a near-death experience. I mean, we weren't sure about that because she was on a ventilator at the time and she was really struggling to breathe, and it was kind of connected with that. But in this experience, she went, it was so, like, it touched me so deeply because when she was talking, I just felt it. But she saw all of our grandparents, and she even saw the grandparent of her partner who she'd never met. And it was just, as well as Licia, her little girl, was there, but they were all there as a family, and they were all, like, you know, giving these beautiful messages of support, and like, and it was just amazing. And it's kind of, that reminds me, it's like the same vibration, like they're really close to that. And maybe that's what they mean, just allowing that we're not alone, you know. It's like we're in linear time, but it doesn't work like time. It's like, it's like another experience I had about the dog again. And she said, it's like you're in a swimming pool. I've said this before in another podcast. And everyone's around the edge, you know, like everyone's still there around the edge. You're just swimming in the middle. So don't worry, you know, it's all, you know, you're fine. You'll get to the edge at some point. Yeah.
But, you know, you just, this makes so much sense. All the pieces of what I'm reading and hearing come together because scientists have now measured that there's more brain activity in areas we don't use when we're having a near-death experience.
Really? Wow.
So, again, I think it all comes back to us humans being stuck in the conscious mind, which knows, 1% of what's going on. Exactly. Well, animals are not stuck. So they don't ever expect us to be like them, you know? They say, you know, being more of who we truly are, and then things kind of work out with that.
Yes.
You know, to stop putting up roadblocks with our faulty beliefs and stuff.
And it's just something that you kind of, it's so hard to find new words, but it's like your mind just sort of, the mental pathways just sort of fizzle out in a way, or when you're with them, there's this really strong, almost magnetic feeling of beingness. You know, you can just go into that, and it doesn't really matter what you're doing, you know. I find that, like, I usually just start with grooming. Like, they want me to groom them, and, you know, they love that. They love touching and scratching. And you're just like, you can do it without touching as well, but it's just that whole, just letting yourself go down into their vibration. Yeah, you don't have to try. I think that's the point. There's nothing to try to do. And I think that's where sometimes people get confused, because they want to have these experiences and they want to have insights and things like what I mean, they are amazing insights, but I think people can think that's the point, when that's not the point really. The point is being in the state, the receptive state. So yeah, you can receive those things, but you're not trying to, because as soon as you try to, then you lose that state. So yeah.
I think maybe that's what, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just thinking of all of us, and you know how we all have abilities to get out of the mind. For some it's easier. So that's maybe why, you know, the horses say, just watch us, or just meditate, just sit by us and close your eyes. And if you don't know what else to do, just listen to the sounds and know you are surrounded by love. Because they see how we humans are like, I can't do that. It's not happening. I'm trying to just be in the state and I'm not receptive. So there's so many roads home.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's...
And the thing is too, is is something I would like people to understand that feel like they're struggling is that you don't need to go for like, I want this big, deep message. It's so simple. Like, oh, I bought the right feed because I had a feeling.
Yes,
Or
exactly.
just simplest little stuff. Little intuitive things. It doesn't have to be a big
I wanted
message.
to say that about what you were saying earlier, that it's like it seemed to me from what you were saying, like about the cross ties, for example, that maybe those little physical things that are quite solid, like it's quite an easy thing to understand and to change, like that can be a way in, because that could really affect someone. If someone communicates with your horse and the horse tells them, I don't like this, and they change that and they see the difference, that's quite powerful. That creates a big shift.
Totally. And that woman with the cross ties, she said, oh yeah, I can tell she doesn't like it. Well, she already knew, but because like you were saying earlier, we do things a certain way, and it's a 1-year-old. I get it. You don't want a 1-year-old to turn around and bite you, whatever.
But that gives her permission now to be able to actually do something.
And the horse gave her some ideas about how we could do this.
Yeah.
So there's still some safety.
You guys just brought up such a wonderful thing to leave the people and the clients with, which is you can see how your horse's eye changes.
Exactly.
Right? If they get irritable when you're going to pick their feet, maybe let them pick a spot. I've had people tell me, my horse won't let me pick his feet inside, but it'll let me pick his feet in the paddock. Yeah. Right? So you're teaching them, you have the ability to see what bothers them and how to offer alternatives and bond more deeply. Yeah. You don't need to be an animal communicator.
Right. And let each of those things be a win. See it as, well, I love synchronicity, right? Everybody doesn't have to love synchronicity if they don't want to, you know what I mean? But I encourage that, like, see the synchronicity and like acknowledge it. The more, because the rule is, and not just me saying this, right? Nothing's really original, right? The more we acknowledge synchronicity happening, the more it happens. And so that's an intellectual way to say, keep opening up, keep opening up. Yeah. It doesn't have to be big. Like I said, it doesn't have to be big. Oh, this is a deep message.
Yeah.
I do want to share a message because you mentioned whales and the oversoul. So one of my colleagues was like, look, the whales are having a hard time. We want to send energy to the whales. Everybody's going to send energy to the whales. So I sat in meditation and connected with the whale oversoul. And thank you for saying oversoul, because I was like, it wasn't really an individual whale. Yeah. But anyway, and so the whale's message was, I am supported. It's like, it was more than the physical water around the whale, but as a metaphor, the water, my world supports me. And the whale said, no matter what, no matter the pollution, no matter the boats, no matter all these terrible things, I'm going to still do my life's plan because I am held and supported. And that was so simple, but it means so much. And we could go back to ancestors and be, oh yeah, you're held by your ancestors. Or we could just say, you're held by that inner compassion that you have, or that inner meditative state you're in. We could call it so many different things, but
just the idea of thinking that, of knowing that, of remembering that is so powerful.
I am so glad, Michele, that you brought this up.
Yeah.
Because I had heard from whale consciousness before I went to Maui a few weeks ago. Oh. Contrary to what you hear, which is we've decimated them all, we have adapted, and in certain places our numbers are growing. And I got to Maui, and there used to be 10,000 humpbacks each year. Now there are 40,000.
Wow.
That come and mate and then come back a year later and give birth. So I get goosebumps. You just, you know what I mean? You like close the circle on
and so simple, like 3 words, or I mean 3 lines, or so simple. It didn't have to be like a paragraph, right?
Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah,
but we can use that as an example, right? So if we're sitting around going, I can't communicate. Yeah. Guess what? You're held.
Yeah.
All is well.
Yes. Things are for you, not against you. Isn't it?
But you know what? I don't know how you guys feel when you wake up in the morning, but before I even open my eyes, I feel whether it's the energy coming into the house through technology, and I'm like, everything's fine. But I have to work.
I know.
In a way I didn't when I was, doing a lot of channeling up through 2019. Hello, COVID. Right? The world energetically shifted, and ever since 2020, it's a lot more work. It's easier on a one-on-one basis than, getting into bed at 9 and just having the animals come through. It changed. And I blame myself, but I'm like, no, when you wake up, we all know what's going on. We know it's cracking wide open and it's going to be messy and ugly. So the vision we know is true is already happening, and the horses see it in other dimensions. Right? They're like, it happens there first. It will materialize on Earth. But that's all I'm saying is that a lot of humans are, they feel like they're vibrating. They can't get still. They cannot blame themselves. You got to find peace your way, right? And
it's almost like it's becoming difficult to ignore now, like that chaotic nature, and we have to respond. Yeah,
that's why the animals
all connected
teach us so much. How simple is that? Searching here, searching there. Oh,
so beautiful.
The animals.
But think about cows. They could live the most chaotic life, knowing that what's going to come, and they choose peace.
Right, just like that whale. Like, I'm going to just keep doing my thing, and I am supported, and all is well. But that horse said, I'm going to pick and choose, so I give the compassion to. So I felt like it was a little bit of a scold. It wasn't.
But that was a personality. That was a personality. It was like an alpha mare.
Yeah. Later, I was like, that was an alpha mare. But it was a good point because we're doing a lot to destroy the horses, right? The wild horses and things like this.
Yeah.
We are, and whatever, all these different terrible things we're doing, right?
Well, you know what I want to share with you? Peanut 2.0 is the name of this tiny little mini horse that came to the farm with he's hilarious. Oh, what a feisty one, with the coffin bones coming out from his feet. And this one is tough as nails. And what he said to me, he said a few things. He goes, I'd like to stay here and want people to hear my story. And it's resurrection for humans, horses, and all. I mean, that's what he's talking. Humans, horses, and all beings. We give energy to each other. It's not just one way. So he shows up. He's like, what do you think? I'm like the low man on the totem pole? He's like, everyone here needs to pull their weight. And I'm doing exactly that. He goes, and then I went to visit him last week. And he went like that. And that's rare. He goes, I'm sorry I tried to bite you. I'm not used to having people in my face. When they were, they used to hit me. Thank goodness that's in the past. And I guess I got emotional. He goes, there's no need to cry. Not all of us clear you like honeybee. We're here for different purposes. I had to get through a lot. He's like that. So I serve as an example for others who have been abused and neglected. People have to see themselves thrive through all of it or it won't happen. They must spend time every day to live their vision as if it is already here, which is what animals do.
Nice.
Right? That we've heard from, Abraham Hicks and whatever about living as your vision already, creating with your mind. They do it all the time. All the time, especially when they're coming out of abuse.
And I think that's why we want to be with them, because they're so inspiring like that. Even if we don't know that's why we want to be with them.
That's right.
They're just so abundant. It's like they're kind of these generators of abundance. And they just get
and positivity.
And for me, like on a personal level, I've had animals bring me together with people that totally different political views, you know, and you know, different lifestyles, right? And things in the past that I would judge people about, right? But they love their animals, and together we have created some really cool things for the community. And it's such a good lesson. And so that just shows, you know, the animals are the ones.
They are the
that
way
can show
showers.
us. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. I mean,
this is so great. I love hearing this.
there's so much, you know, there's
exactly
so
what I
much
get.
better than we are. I want to say better, or, you know, evolved, or whatever the words are, but they are definitely our leaders. And, you know,
they're not prisoners of the delusions of ego. So what do? They focus on what we all have in common. And that brings us together, because now, don't talk about religion, politics, vaccination, you know, the list gets longer and longer.
Right.
But focus on what you all have in common.
Exactly.
You can all love your animals. You can all love the earth. And you can hopefully kind of see that we're all in this together. Compassion.
It's love, really, isn't it? It reminds me of my gorgeous pig that I had. Wise pig, I used to call her. She
you're
was
so
just,
lucky.
Yeah, I know.
French
She
pig.
was so wise. And but she was always really, like, I had this kind of, you know, I would feel I had a big pain body about pork, you know, like the way people eat it and the way that they're kept. And because she came from a place like that and everything.
Wow.
And she was like, she just didn't see it like that. She didn't judge anybody. She was like, I'll eat a pizza with pork on it. I don't mind. Like, she wasn't like.
But see, that's. I don't want to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, you know, carry on. But it's just that I'm trying to just mirror, like, reflect her. She didn't have these ideas in her mind. Like, she didn't judge. She was quite, like, if somebody came in her park and they were like a bit rude, or somebody came in once with this thing they wanted to take a video of her, and they had like a big sound thing and they put it in her face. She chased him out. Like, she chased him out. He was rolling down the bank, poor thing. Because she was quite,
I hope he got video of him rolling down.
I didn't get any of that. Because she could, you know, she had a sort of, like a bit of a core of steel at times. It wasn't that she wasn't, you know, expressive, but it was just that she didn't get caught in these, like, pathways of the mind and, like, these ideas and these politics, you know. And like religion and all of that meant nothing to her. And it's hard sometimes to faithfully express what they give you. Just a complete lack of judgment, basically, and criticism. And she says you just have to love, you know, love.
I was sort of like contemplating like compassion, right? And so I kind of asked like, or lion showed up. And I was like, how are you compassionate? Because I'm thinking the lion's eating stuff, right? It's real, you know, predator.
Yes, yes.
Well, I never not give myself something that I need. So it's like that compassion for himself. So I'm having compassion because I'm giving myself what I need, which is something we forget, right? As people, that we have to give ourselves compassion. So
well, you'd learn different things from different species too, and right, lions always show up as so powerful, and they do put energy into the earth, so they don't. It's not like they take it for granted. You know, what they've told me, they have different roles within the pride, and that fight will ensue if somebody's not holding up their end, finding the best place to rest. But I made some comment early on about not being as evolved as more
as a person,
compassionate species. I was thinking more of
same thing as I thought. Is that what you're saying?
Right? And he said power is not unevolved. In other words, it is perception, right? You know that they have to, you know, kill. They have to kill an animal in order to survive. They choose the one whose energy is ebbing. You and I can't see it, and they don't catch the ones it's not whose time it is not. In other words, they're still full of life force. If other animals at a watering hole don't approve, leopard told me they will leave. So there are certain ethics, but we can't compare like horses to lions and say that lions are less evolved or they're
less
not
compassionate. Yeah.
Right. They're very different. They're learning very different lessons in the body of a lion versus the lessons you're learning in the body of a horse. It's just you learn.
Well, and
from
what made me think about that was the pig that was willing to eat pig, right?
Right. Well, the pig doesn't read the news and hear about factory farming. This is such a big thing for humans. You know, people that just think if you're vegan, that's the answer to everything, right? Yeah. And then they judge people that aren't vegan and they cause more dissension and more separation, which is the last thing the animals want.
Exactly.
You can choose and say, I get sick if I don't eat this, but I won't support factory farms.
Right.
You know, I mean, I've seen squirrels eating baby birds. We've all seen animals eating their prey, and they don't beat themselves up and say, well, I should only eat seeds so I don't kill another bee.
That's at the lion. I never not give myself what I need.
Yeah.
Compassion.
But they don't take more than they need. They don't stockpile. They always share. You know, when I put food out, before the birds even take a bite, they make these massive announcements. So all the other, you know, there's food, it's here, it's here. They take a while. So, you know, I don't want to get off on too many tangents, but you and I, we're recycling the same things of how really difficult it is to be human. Yeah. And with the bombardment of information, and how can I be the most respectful of this world that I love, of the animals, and what does that look like? And if you get sick without eating some kind of animal, you know, whoever judges you is an ego. The animals don't say, well, I'm not going to come through to you if you eat animals.
There's also something about death, though, isn't there? Like our attachment to death. Like animals aren't attached in that way. Mm-hmm. It's like for them, killing and death, like, because I struggle with that a little bit. Like I saw this thing on Netflix recently about chimpanzees. The Chimp Empire, it was called. And it was really fascinating, like to see their world and see how they are. But one bit really bothered me, and I couldn't get it out of my mind, when they were chasing the monkeys. You know how they'll kill monkeys and eat them. And at one point they had a lot of fruit, and apparently when they have more fruit, they have more energy, so they hunt more. And they were really hunting like crazy. And just this image of this big chimpanzee, and he had this monkey by the tail and he pulled him towards him, and they didn't show you what happened after that, but you know, you can imagine. And that I was like, I don't know, I just keep trying to find a way to feel okay about that, because I don't think it doesn't feel balanced to feel bad about that.
And you know what, of all the 100 species that have come through over the last decade or so, the chimps were the only ones that sounded like humans. I literally said, I feel like I'm talking to a bitter 95-year-old
And that was the first thing I thought of about the fruit. Wow. Eating the fruit made them hyper. Same with us, right? Eating the sugar makes us do all kinds of weird stuff.
That's true.
Or any stimulant.
I did not get any, inspiring messages from the chimps at all. At one point they did say how things were changing, the awareness, and it was that we're going to give up, and that was great. But what is it? There is no glory in rotting flesh. When they talked about the disease and the death of their families and everything humans had brought, and I'm like, they really do sound like us. And how when they get older, they said, we listen to the females more. We don't take things out in physical argument. We happiness, togetherness, those things become more important. I was like, wow, it's really ideally humans are like that too.
Wow.
I think it does come back to that we are all on a path and we can't judge the path. Well, because it's something that I don't like doesn't mean that I don't have to like it either. And I don't have to sort of choose, to have it, to think about it. But that doesn't mean it's wrong. for them on their journey, and they're
Right.
experiencing it, and you know.
Coming back to veganism and judgment, I just want to share a little of my experience. So like when I was, in 19, I mean, where are we? Where are we in? So,
I'm like that. So.
And like
Don't worry. It's
like
not linear. It doesn't matter.
Okay. So like in 1980, okay, I was 20, and I worked at the first raw foods restaurant in America, the Sprout Grounders, and it was, vegan. It was raw foods.
Yeah.
And we were so judgmental. Of course I was 20.
Yeah.
So we were so judgmental, and like, we are higher vibration, we are more evolved, and we're eating raw foods and judging everyone, right? And then I saw, oh, wait a minute. This vegan guy beats his wife. This vegan person really hurt me. And it was a big lesson for me, because I was like, oh, doesn't make you more spiritual. And maybe what comes out of your mouth is more important than what goes in.
I love that. That's perfect. Thank you.
And so that was a big lesson for me. Now, having said that, I'm always going to promote, compassion and I'm always going to promote that. But the judging can be worse than not say eat animals. The judging, it isolates a person. It stops them from making connections that possibly could be very important in the world. And I might be wrong about this, but I think Hitler was a vegetarian. So
it surprised me.
I might be wrong, but I feel like
you totally nailed it. You nailed the issue with every person that has a gift or is a healer, and then you spend time with them and you go, okay. It's how do you move through your life? It isn't what you do, it's how you be.
So true.
Right? Yeah. And oh my goodness, the judgy.
I know some vegan people who, because I'll be honest, I went through a phase of it. Like, I was vegetarian for a long time, and then I thought, I'm really going to do it because ethically, Of
course.
And I did. But then when my sister came to live with us out of the clinic after she's had her accident, and I couldn't, it was such a lot to do that I couldn't be making different meals, and she needed protein, meat, she wanted it. And so I just kind of thought, okay, I'm just going to eat it again, And then I think, well, do you know what, Esme, the pig, she would have eaten it, and she didn't have a problem with and then I started to think, well, animals really, they just don't see it in the same way. Like, they're not attached to life in this. It's like kind of unnatural a little bit. I mean,
it's the needs of the body. They do not personalize. This is what my body needs. It's no reflection on my soul. And I went, okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It is true. And I really believe in regenerative farming and permaculture, and
so great.
The best life that that they can have, and all the rest of it. And obviously it's difficult, there's hypocrisy, it's you can't be a perfect person, but
right.
I think it is about kindness, isn't it? It's about, because what you say about that really reminded me of these people. That's what I started to talk about, these vegan people, and they're lovely people, but it's become such a thing for them that they don't speak, they've completely altered their relationship with one of their sons.
Exactly.
Because he refuses to be vegan. And so they're basically alienating him. And I was thinking, look, if you lost him, what if you lost him tomorrow? Would it matter about whether he's a vegan or not?
But you know what it is? It's that search for who am I? Oh, I'm a vegan. I'm a good person. I care about the planet.
Exactly.
It's hanging on desperately.
Yeah.
To something to say, okay, I'm not just conscious. I'm something. Yes. I'm something.
It really is that.
And I get it. It's a level of what can I control? And I understand that. Yes. What can I control in this world that'll bring more compassion or less suffering? And I understand it.
Yeah.
And at the same time,
it's what you do with it. Good.
Yeah. At the same time, the judgment is that negativity
Yeah. I
doesn't
think it has
balance
to
it
be
out.
just, and the other thing about it is it's not in the present moment. Like, I think if you make rules like that, they take you out of being in the present moment and being able to make a choice in the present moment about what you're eating and what you want to eat and what you don't want to eat. Like, as it happens, we don't eat very much meat because we just, don't really need to, don't really choose to. But it's having that rule, like saying, I can't do that, I won't do that. That's not, it's like on your mental track. So animals aren't in that. Animals are just in that moment. So they might decide to eat something or not eat something, but it's not because they're a vegan. It's because of that food in that moment and whether they're hungry and whether they want it. And, so it's just such a way off, isn't it? When you don't have to live by rules. Like,
again, it's about balance, right? Like, we can advocate for the protection of animals, but then can we also keep it to ourselves? It's a personal experience.
Thank you.
It's like when people say, have you found Jesus? And I'll say, well, there's a reason that he's called your personal savior. It's personal.
Yeah.
And so it's personal what I eat unless we're out to dinner together, kind of thing, right? And so it's personal what you eat. It's
right.
But there's got to be balance.
We're only in charge of ourselves. Yeah. And we walk away from this interview and we know, okay, I know what it feels like to be judged. What I choose to eat, what I choose to believe in, live and let live, honor all, respect all, and you know what? It just all the weight goes off. I don't have to fix anything.
And you don't have to justify.
I never proselytize. You should never. Even when people in sessions, we end up talking about nutrition and they find out that they could really do a much better job and they beat themselves up. I always keep saying we are all waking up together.
Exactly.
About every element of our lives and animals, like no judgment, no beating yourself up.
Again, back to that self-compassion. The line was like, I have compassion for myself. I never not give myself what I need.